Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We welcome you to the show. We're excited. We got a good show for you today. Going to be talking about being a warrior here in the first segment. We always like to kind of give the definition of a warrior so that everybody knows that we're kind of fighting through life together. And a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier. A lot of times we don't feel brave and we're not soldiers. If we're not in the military, maybe that does apply to you, maybe it doesn't. Bravery is interesting. A lot of people think they're not brave. And if you're not brave and you're not a soldier, then all you have to be is an experienced fighter. And if you've gone through anything in life, anything that has any level of difficulty, which I believe we've all said that we can do, or can all say that we've done, then you are a warrior. And if you are a warrior, you have to admit that you're able to fight. And if you admit that you're able to fight, there's really not much that you should sit down and be afraid of. So when you're sitting there thinking you're paralyzed by anxiety or you're paralyzed and crippled by depression and you're not going to be able to overcome something or something's the hardest thing that you've ever faced, just remember that you've said that before. At one point in time, you had to overcome the hardest thing you've ever had to overcome. And maybe it's different now. Maybe you're fighting a different demon. Maybe you're fighting a different situation or you're on a different level. But at the end of the day, you just have to implement the same tactics that got you through the last thing. And that's taking a step back, thinking of the process that it's going to take to get through it, and just applying whatever that may be so that you can move forward. Maybe that just means finding help. So we always like to just kind of give you guys a little bit of encouragement and let you know that we're all in this fight together. We are in the new year now. Here we are in starting off 2025. So we just want to kind of get you guys in the right mindset, the warrior mentality to press forward.
Absolutely. I think something that is hard to listen to, and I don't mean like in an annoyance way, I mean in a really, it hurts my heart kind of way, is when people put off getting better. There are certain ingredients, there are certain foods, there's certain situations that are toxic, that are making you slower. They're making you foggy. They're making you irritable. They're making you just less than the best, or less than your best version of yourself, and you're putting off becoming better because you have another event to go to, because you have, too much pleasure revolving around those particular items, those particular situations or scenarios. And so you're putting off the possibility of feeling good today because you're thinking, another week and then I'll get focused on it. Another week and then I'll really dive into it.
I think that's the root of it, is that there actually is pleasure in it. And, a lot of people will say, well, I have another event, or I have something that I have to do, or, it's almost this time anyway. And, at the end of the day, you need to really stop and take account of what that means, because you're in a perpetual cycle. Like, there will always be another event. We talked about this with Sophie on the show when she was on here about like birthday parties. Sophie is in middle school. There is going to be a birthday party basically every weekend. She's had a couple weekends where she's been invited to 3. If she has cake and ice cream and pizza at every birthday party, she's going to be sick. Like, she's not going to be well. So even as adults, there's always another event. There's always that next gathering. There's always we have a holiday in the United States like every 2 weeks. So if you're celebrating every holiday, there's always going to be that. So you really have to actually sit down and take account, like, okay, am I doing this because I enjoy it? And I think 99% of you are going to have to answer that yes. And then take into account what Deb's talking about, being healthy and being well, what you say you want to do. And which one do you want more? And if you acknowledge that you want the food more, then I guess go be unhealthy. Just go do it if that's actually what you want more. But this may be a defining moment for you where you can say, like, no, I actually do want to be well, and I can admit that I'm doing this because I like to eat, or I am doing this for the pleasure, and I don't want that as much as I want to be well. Well, congratulations. You just completed the first step of Alcoholics Anonymous, admitting that you have a problem, acknowledging that you have a problem. Food is an addiction. What are you feeding? If you're eating something for pleasure, or you're eating something because you feel you need it, and I'm not talking about nutrients, I'm talking about having to have your glass of red wine, having to have your chocolate, having to have your pizza. If you're feeding that and you don't really understand why, and there's really no nutritional value, you have to recognize that you may have a problem. Now, listen, I'm not saying that you're like a hardcore addict. I'm not saying that, you're in a situation that's as bad as heroin, but there are varying levels of addiction. And if it's affecting you from being the person you want to be or that God's called you to be, then you have to look at that as a problem.
I think that, yes, you may be doing it because it brings you pleasure, but I think that you also have to investigate the other reasons why you might be doing it. Like, do you just have so much emptiness that you're filling that emptiness with what you're drinking? You're filling that emptiness with what you're eating. You're filling that emptiness with, I don't even want to go to this event, but if I'm going to have to go, then I'm going to have to participate in these things. And maybe it just sort of numbs me while I'm at the event, and gets me through, something I don't even want to be doing anyways. But if you're filtering this stuff in, you have, the party or you have the gathering, you're filtering this stuff in and you really don't want to, but yet you're still doing it. I just think there's something missing. There's a missing piece of the puzzle. And I think you really just need to try to determine who you are and what you're serving in your life. And are you really truly feeding yourselves the right things? I mean, are you listening to the right stuff? Are you going to church? Are you in the Bible? Are you praying? Are you engaging with your spouse? Or are you just kind of just floating your way through life, going from sugar dump to sugar dump, alcohol to alcohol, garbage food to garbage food, and just walking around feeling tired, feeling heavier, feeling foggier, maybe being a little bit irritable, maybe being a little bit spacey, maybe not staying on top of your game, starting to miss some things, starting to get foggy. If these are the things that are happening, I would not wait to try to come up with some type of change or solution. I also wouldn't necessarily feel like this is a job for yourself. I think that, like, I've done nutrition for 25 years, and then the past year, I've had someone coach me. I mean, how many times in all the time that you've known me, John, have I had coaches? I think if I want to be successful, then I need to have someone lead me and help me and guide me and hold me accountable. I don't think you have to feel like it's something that you have to do by yourself.
Yeah, I think the day that you start to believe that you're in a good enough position to do everything on your own is actually your last chance of being better or being well. I mean, I talk to people about that in our line of work, when I'm talking to a new trainer about, what their capabilities or abilities are in training. If they come to me and they seem like they know it all, then that's not someone I really have time for. I don't know it all. They don't know it all. Our career is ever changing. There's always going to be a new postural issue. There's always going to be a new injury. I'm not necessarily talking about creating some weird off the wall exercise, but how you apply exercise to someone is always changing. So you have to be willing to learn. Well, it's no different with your health. If what you're doing isn't working and you keep trying new things and it's not working, go learn from somebody, get assistance from someone, have someone help you. That's what we do. That's the whole point is
accountability.
A lot of people think that, that's huge. A lot of people think that, it's not that hard. I can Google, I can research it. Well, you can also Google and YouTube how to fix an engine in your car. Like, it's out there. There are YouTube videos on how to take an engine apart in a vehicle and put it back together. Are you going to do that? And is your body not more important than your car. And to Deb's point with accountability, we had someone approach us at church that said that they were starting the nutrition program with Debbie. They had been a previous athlete. They had been a previous coach. And they just hit this point where they recognize they actually need help beyond what their knowledge level is from an expert. But not only that, they realize they need the accountability. They need someone to ask, like, have you done what you're supposed to do? And that's okay. A lot of us think like, oh, well, I shouldn't require accountability. Again, I ask you why. Like, do you not require some accountability with work? Are you not asked to pay bills? Are you not reminded that you have tasks that need to be accomplished? Like, your health really isn't any different. So quit giving yourself a hard time about thinking you need to do it alone.
For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with our 6-month nutrition program or a free personal fitness assessment, give us a call at 636-299-2208 or take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to you from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed meat, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Got a great show for you. It's the new year, and you hear the new year, new you, that is always said. And I just want to explain for a second. There are two types of people. There are the type of people that say new year, new you, and they get 100% all into it. And then there's the people that say that's the most cliche thing that they've ever heard, and it's really dumb. And I challenge you to actually be a third type of person. Instead of thinking that people's New Year's resolutions are dumb, give someone a chance and give someone the ability to try to better themselves. And instead of being gung-ho, new year, new me, over the top, creating all of these goals that you will literally do nothing with, sit down and actually kind of rationalize where you see yourself wanting to be, and then come up with tactics of how to get there. I find that most people have an idea of where they want to be or what they want to do, but the tactics part is what goes missing, like the implementation, the plan work. Who am I going to work with that can assist me to get to that point? Because most of the times these goals or these New Year's resolutions are things that you've wanted for a while and you haven't obtained. And if you ask yourself why you haven't obtained them and what is different now that's going to give you the ability to do that, I think a lot of times the answer is there isn't anything that is different that's going to allow you to do it. So you might fall on your face again. And with fitness, I just can't stand, and I'm so thankful for our facility because you don't hear this in my facility, is I can't stand this concept of, well, it's going to be super busy in January and I just can't wait for all those New Year's people to be gone. I mean, they're going to be gone by February anyways, and thank God I can get my equipment back. You know what, man? At one point in time, you were in that same boat. You started at some point too, and you were probably dumb with what you did, or you were out of shape, or you were unhealthy, or you were a stick. So why don't you give these people a shot and perhaps even try to assist them so that their life can be better? Is your inconvenience of not being able to sit down on a bench for 5 minutes really worth making someone else's life not get better? And so I just challenge you guys in this new year, if you haven't actually done this, let's get in the cliche together. Sit down and write on paper. Don't just think about it. Write down on paper, what are your goals? Physically, what are your goals? With your family, what are your goals? Make different lines, different lists. With your business, if you're an entrepreneur, what are your goals? If you're not an entrepreneur, with your work, what are your goals? Do you want to get a promotion? Do you just want to work harder so that you can be the best version of yourself at work that you should be? What are you looking to do? And then once you line those items out, take a look at them and think, how do I get there? And make that the next part of the list so that you don't create this vision board, you don't create this list that ends up ultimately just getting tossed in the trash in March and you realize that you haven't actually implemented any of it.
I have
spent, the better part of my life, half of my life now, helping people achieve goals. And I personally am not a goal chaser. I'm a lifestyle creator. I help people form healthy lifestyles, and I pray to God that I put them in a position to where they maintain that, and that we've created a pattern of habits that allows them to maintain it. So typically what I would suggest, with it being the first of the year, is nothing wrong with writing down the goals. Like, what do you want things to look like? If you had a exact vision for what you want your future to look like, what do you want your body to look like? What do you want the car that you drive to look like, the house that you live in to look like? Absolutely nothing wrong with having that, but no way you're going to achieve it if you don't have a set of standards, a set of values, and a set of habits that you're going to follow.
Right. How are you going to get there?
Which wholeheartedly, back to my first segment, is the greatest and most effective time to hire a coach, because they help you to organize that. You can walk in with the goal, and they help you to identify what standards, what values, and what habits are going to be required in order to achieve those goals. Okay?
Yeah. I think with a goal, what you want to think about is goals should be stepping stones for lifestyles. Some people can function under the concept of what is the end game, and they're just willing to charge at the end game. Like, the end game is to be healthy until I'm 90. Well, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to be healthy till I'm 90. There's that type of person. The other type of person there is, okay, I want to be healthy when I'm 90, but I'm bored right now. This food isn't McDonald's, and I don't feel like working out anymore. And then they're off the rails for 3 months. That person needs goals. And so set them. Set short-term goals, set long-term goals. But the missing part with a lot of goal chasers is what Deb's talking about. It's that long-term, that longevity, that lifestyle. Set that in place as well. Call that your end goal if you need to call it a goal. But what is the lifestyle change required to implement what you want to implement and hit the goals you want to hit while staying on track to be healthy and well? And what that's going to prevent you from doing is yo-yoing. It's gonna help you to not lose 100 pounds, then put 100 pounds on. Like, you do not need to go into, thank God this isn't even a buzzword anymore, but it was for a long time, into ketosis. Like, I'm gonna do keto. There was such a keto trend for so long because people were using it to lose weight. Like, you should not use keto to lose weight. You should use keto because you need a metabolic reset, or you need to refresh your gut health. Like, there's proper reasons to use keto, and some people's bodies even perform better in keto. Maybe you're even using it because you have a neurological issue that it's going to help with. But doing keto and robbing yourself of carbohydrates and upping your fats and doing insane cardio workouts to drop weight, only to go back to drinking wine, eating candy, and slamming bread, and then quitting your workouts, is quite literally the worst thing you can do. So quit yo-yoing by establishing a longevity idea, by establishing, like, what do I do to create a lifestyle to actually sustain and keep the results that I'm trying to create.
If a short-term diet became part of the puzzle,
Right.
then you would be looking at it as a short-term option, and you would be knowing what is Plan B, what is Plan C, what is Plan D.
Right. What health lead
a lot
you go
of the
to
people that are
afterwards.
doing the weight loss therapies, if they're doing semaglutide, if they're doing tirzepatide, or Wegovy, it's a great opportunity for them to change inflammatory markers in their body, but they have to set up a set of standards and a set of practices that they're following habitually, so that when they come off of that therapy, those peptides, they have a plan in place for how they're going to stay healthy. They're not just going back to McDonald's. They're not just going back to sodas. They're not just going back to candy. They've already created a healthy lifestyle program, and the peptides helped them to really change metabolic markers, and it's been life-altering. But now here's my next set of habits. That's what we do. That's part of the 6-month nutrition program at Integrity. We help you establish those standards, those habits, those values. Let us help you. For more information on what we do, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3, talking a little bit about New Year's resolution. I think we all expected that was coming. But the main thing is the implementation of the disciplinary patterns to create the lifestyle to sustain those long-term goals, those things that as a resolution you think that you want. And I think it goes beyond even what we do for a living, which is health and wellness. It goes into everything. Like I love the quote, talent can take you places that your discipline can't keep you. And if you find yourself getting into these situations where you work really hard for a short burst of time, or you kind of naturally just fall in line at being good at something until you hit a wall of not, and then that's where you fail or that's where you give up, I challenge you to figure out, like, why is that happening and how do I press forward? And a lot of times it comes down to discipline, tactics. You know, I was talking to a client of mine this morning about what he does to make his food. And he used to be a chef. He owns his own company now. He used to own restaurants, and he was a pretty big time chef. And he was talking about his son, and his son follows this, I guess you would call him a social media influencer, whatever he is. And this guy makes like bowls, like all of his foods are bowls, like, you know, quinoa bowls, steak bowls, chicken bowls, things like that. And he was talking about how his son kind of is into that. And now he's making, this guy, same guy makes smoothie bowls. And my client was talking about how he was kind of worried about, like, isn't that too much sugar? And he kind of told me it wasn't. I'm like, yeah, like you're not going to want to do a bunch of those in a day. But we started talking about the discipline. And I was like, you know, for a 17-year-old, which is how old his kid is, like that's a pretty decent disciplinary tactic to instill is if they're bowls, they're bowls. If it's a smoothie, it's a smoothie. Now, don't get me wrong. We got to be careful here. Like, I'm not promoting that you consume 40 bananas in a day because you're putting them in smoothies. But like he's attempting to implement disciplines to be well because he wants to grow. Like his long-term goal is to be more muscular. Well, you're not going to do that if you're living your life in a caloric deficit. And what he was finding is that he was getting into a lot of times a day where he wasn't capable of eating. So I guess my point is he's figured out now that he's going to kind of go the route of creating these bowls, and then he's going to do these smoothies in between where they make sense so that he can eat right, be fueled. He's a soccer player, and also so that he can grow. And so what are you sitting down and writing, and what are you thinking about wanting to do? And then what disciplinary patterns are you putting in place to actually make that happen? You know, if you're looking to be healthy, what are you doing to do that? Like, who are you working with? Who are you talking to?
Today, I was listening to Ed Milet, and he has talked about this before, and I always like his approach in multiple areas when he takes this approach. But he said, challenge yourself to break down what actually makes you undisciplined. So what breaks your discipline? Okay, what are the things? And so in his mind, he said that here's what I want. I want to be able to wake up every day and do breath work. This is what Ed said. I want to wake up every day and do yoga. I want to have time in my Bible. I want to be able to work out for an hour a day. I want to be able to commit this much time to my wife and my kids. And then everything else in between is going to be me focusing on all my businesses. This is what Ed said.
Right.
And then he said, let me break down the things that are going to keep me undisciplined, that will make it to where I cannot get all those things done in my day. And the first thing he said was waking up and turning on SportsCenter. His wife one day told him, hey, didn't you just watch that that same sports recap last night right before you went to bed. Why are you watching it this morning? Because she's like, I listened to it with you last night. It's the same exact recap that was last night. So why? I'm just curious. Why do you listen to it again? And he realized, man, every day just flipping that on is such a distraction. He said that Netflix is a distraction because he can't just watch one Netflix show. He watches 3 Netflix
Yeah,
shows.
you stream them back to back,
Right.
or you scroll for 3 hours.
Right. Then and that was the next thing he said. He said Instagram. He said Facebook. He goes, it is helpful to me to build a percentage of time a day to be able to look at those things because they are potentially how I can grow my business, but it's going to have to be scheduled.
Right.
So what he's doing is he's breaking down all of the areas that are actually making him undisciplined. Is
That's
that watching movies? Is it playing video games? Is it reading casual books? And sometimes it can even be growing as a person in terms of like content, like digesting more about your business and learning from influencers and learning from people who have done it. Sometimes you can do that so much
It's too
that
much.
it's like, okay, that's great
You haven't
that
used
you're
it.
engaging all that, but you still need to prep your food every day.
Right.
You still need to go to the gym and work out.
Right.
Because those are actually things that will make you better at
Right.
all these other areas. So I really like that idea. And I think that if everyone took that approach, and I really sat down and I looked at that and I was like, okay, what is breaking my discipline? And the first thing that breaks my discipline is looking at my phone first thing in the morning. Today, I spent 20 minutes text messaging about one topic. It was 20 minutes. And I was walking in the door of work with 2 minutes before my meeting started. And it wasn't necessarily negative. It wasn't necessarily positive, but it was just something that I chose to do. I look at my phone right when I wake up. I mean, it's the first thing I look at. I start answering text messages for clients at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just something that I do. If I didn't do that for the first half hour of my day, what would I accomplish?
You accomplish a lot. It's how you do vacation. I mean, I watch you do better on vacation because you don't do it like that.
Right.
But, I also, while we're on the topic of Ed Milet, really like that guy. He said another quote at one point, or a recent conversation that he had about business in the next 4 years. And he said, regardless of who you voted for or what your presidential beliefs are, he said, the current president that's coming in is a businessman. And if you have something in your business that you have wanted to do for any amount of time and you do not accomplish it in the next 4 years, you will probably never accomplish it. He said, as an entrepreneur with the president that's coming in and his belief in entrepreneurship and just some things that Ed's aware of that are going to be going in place that he can't talk about yet, he said, if you don't accomplish it, you probably won't. So you got to step your game up. And I liked that because I am an entrepreneur for business. But then I actually started thinking about it for what I'm doing. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's apply this to health. If you have something in your health that you've been wanting to accomplish, I'm going to give you a year. If you don't accomplish it in the next 12 months, you may never accomplish it. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Like, you could have a heart attack today. I had a heart attack when I was 26 years old. Under no circumstance did I think that was coming. And I know looking back, I was unhealthy. Of course, I didn't think I was healthy back then, but I was okay, quote unquote. It wasn't as bad, quote unquote, as other people. So it's not guaranteed. And then also take a look at how long you've been saying you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, well, no, I mean, I'm kind of okay right now. Well, have you been talking about losing 50 pounds for 10 years? Like, if you don't do it this year, you're probably not going to do it because that's another year to go ahead and tack onto that.
What keeps you from doing it?
What's keeping you from losing the weight? Like, what really at the root of it is keeping you from losing that weight? What really is stopping you from eating clean? What's really stopping you from walking? Deb recently had someone communicating with her, a client, about like how she wanted to start walking and she was motivated to start walking by Debbie and she was going to start walking. but it's hard to get to somewhere where she can walk indoors because it's cold outside. And so Debbie's like, we'll just make a quick walk down to the corner of like your cul-de-sac and come back. And the lady kind of looked at her, and it's like, okay, so is cold going to be what prevents you from getting the movement in that your body needs? Like, is that the prevention?
So maybe you can't do an hour outside, but you could do 10 minutes outside.
Yeah, exactly. Because what you've done now is
that day.
Yeah, what you've done now is you've done nothing.
Right.
So it's actually not working towards your goal. And then the same person said, well, I guess this gym that I do go to is only 5 minutes away. Okay. So what's the deal breaker? The 5-minute drive? Is the deal breaker that it's cold outside? Or is the deal breaker that you just don't want either of those resistances? Third point that the person made, they have a treadmill in their home, but that's not the same. It does something different. Well, that's true. It does do something different, but that something different is still better, and arguably for some people always better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I do almost all of my cardio on a treadmill.
At the root of that, and this is not at all a knock on that person, is because we all do it. At the root of that is you just don't want to do it bad enough. Like you've let the cold be a wedge that prevents it. You've let the drive of 5 minutes be something that prevents it. You've let the desire to do it outside and not inside be something that prevents it. So that's a lot of preventers. But if you write them down on paper and you realize that none of them are that big of a deal, like Ed's suggesting here, like what's the break, and you can scratch all three of those off, next thing you know, you're doing what you need to do.
I mean, the second thing for me that was a distraction was scrolling.
Yeah.
I never, ever, ever used to be the type of person that looked at the news feed. I just didn't. I never had any idea what was going on in the world. I truly knew nothing. I mean, I was so, and I still am very unaware because I just don't pay a lot of attention. But growing a bakery and growing a gym, I have a marketing meeting now weekly. So I'm looking at these posts and I'm like, last night I shared probably 12 posts with staff to show them this company's doing this company's doing that. Now I hope in the next month or two, we've got things pretty lined up to where I don't have to do this stuff all the time, but it's a major, that's for work. What about the time that you're doing it just for personal, just for funny? Okay, these are funny videos. These are great dog videos.
Yeah, like people
these
smacking their heads on walls.
These are great baby videos, whatever. Well, how much of a distraction, but yet you don't have time to prep your food.
Right.
You don't have time to get to the grocery store.
Oh man, I'm a scroller for sure. Like I try to like limit myself. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna look at 5 minutes of this. But I'm also ADD, like extremely ADD. So I can play a video game, be researching something and scrolling on my phone at the same time. It's funny because I'll watch Debbie sometimes watch me like, what are you doing on your phone? Like while I have a game up and then I'm also like typing something. It's like I'm all over the place. Mm-hmm. But the problem is even though I'm controlling all three elements, I'm still taking up more time and accomplishing less because I am doing those three things. And I can get on a tangent of watching funny videos, which, listen, sometimes it's okay to do that because it's an outlet. But
absolutely.
Like Ed's saying,
he even said he scheduled
like Ed's saying, just schedule that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you overdo that, like I have things I want to do. I got a book I need to write. I have a book I want to read. I want to get in my Bible more. And I say all of that, but then I spend 30 minutes, maybe an hour on Instagram a day and think I don't have time. Well, there's the time to do all of those things.
Let us help you to be able to pull these standards, these values, these goals together and create a healthy lifestyle with it with our 6-month nutrition program. For more information on what we do at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3, talking a lot about the new year because we are in the new year, and I want it to be new year, better you. It's not a new you. You're still you. Okay. You've still got the past that you've got. And that's what you're going to have to ride off of. So let's talk about just being better. You know, I mean, we were talking about Ed Milet saying that he was taking account of, what was the verbiage? Things that stopped him from
being disciplined. I mean, what breaks your discipline?
Breaks your discipline. That's the verbiage. Thank you. Like, what is breaking your discipline? What is causing you to not do the things that you need to do? And I think that's so good, because a lot of times when we sit down, we talk about how bad we want something, but then right off the top of our head, we can't tell you why we don't do it. Like, people are like, yeah, I'm tired of feeling like garbage. Like, I'm tired of being overweight. I'm tired of being tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, okay, well, why don't you do it? I don't know. I know I need to. Okay, well, let's actually sit down and think about why. Like, if you know that you need to, like, what's the hang up? And, you know, just saying, I don't know, like, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
I can tell you exactly why I stroll Instagram. It's hilarious. When people are riding scooters and they slam into a bar and do a front flip, that cracks me up.
Right.
Like, I mean, I like to send those to Debbie, and she's like, quit sending me those. I don't like to watch people get hurt. So, of course, I then send her more. I also like to send her videos of babies farting, because I think that's hilarious. And she's like, please quit sending me those too. Because then she watches them. So, like, I'm her breaker too. Like, I'm actually breaking Debbie's discipline. But my point is, like, the reason I watch those is because they're fun. The reason I watch them is because they're a good step away. But the problem is,
it's a little brain break.
It's too much. So the problem becomes, why is it a deal breaker for me? Why is John not writing his book? Well, John's not writing his book because he's allowing himself a little too much time on things that aren't constructive. Like 5-10 minutes to break the brain up, great. 45. Okay, we're probably wasting a little time.
So,
here.
I mean, how do you stop it? I mean, how do you say, I'm not doing this for 45
You know what
minutes.
I've done, and it's interesting, the dopamine response that comes out of scrolling. Like, we don't have enough time to even talk the neurology of this as we end this segment out here. But the neurology, the dopamine and serotonin responses to drugs and heroin, and the way that connects with the same reason that some people are addicted to certain foods, but it's the same addiction for any addiction. Gambling gives you the same thing. Scrolling gives you the same thing. TikTok and Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook got you all figured out. It goes beyond an algorithm. That swiping ability, the ability to see something for 5 seconds and get a renewed dopamine hit, where it's like, that's funny, that's funny, that's funny, and it's real short-lived and it's not the same thing, and you have the option to scroll it if you don't like it, is insane. Because life doesn't actually, it doesn't give you that in any other format. So that's why you go back to it. So what's fascinating is how many times I've gone back to it, even though, to answer your question, Deb, what's the disciplinary tactic to get it out of my life? I delete the apps off my phone. Mm-hmm. So I'll delete the apps, and then ultimately what ends up happening is we need something for our business, or I'm trying to watch something our business is doing. So I'm like, well, I'll put it back on there, and I'm just going to put it on there so that I can see what's happening with the business. But the next thing you know, I'm scrolling the feed. Another one I do that with, that I go off and on of deleting, is I have some of you have probably heard of Discord. Well, I use Discord because I am a gamer, and so I will talk to my buddies that I raid with. Well, in Discord, there's different chat channels where people talk about different things. Sometimes it's memes. Sometimes they're talking about raid strategies for the video game, things like that. None of which actually matters for my day, but I find myself randomly opening up the Discord to see what are people talking about. And it's like they're talking about this raid information that I don't even need in my brain right now. So it's like I'm allowing my time or my video game or something I do use as my brain release to happen too much in my day and throughout my day. And I've got a really fun challenge for you this year. If scrolling is your problem, if Instagram and Facebook or TikTokies or Snapper chats and all of these things are your problem, delete it off your phone and write down the time every time that you open your phone and try to pull that app open. That's not there anymore. I guarantee you will probably do it 20 to 30 times a day. You will do it at every stoplight. You will do it at every stop sign. You will do it every time you go into the bathroom. You will do it every time you're in between meetings. You will do it every time. And if you add up those moments, okay, the wasted time that can go into that, but even beyond the wasted time, start thinking about what you're putting into your brain. The Bible tells us to take every thought captive. Are you doing that? Because if you're putting random junk into your brain every opportunity you get, like imagine reading a Bible verse there. Imagine watching a 45-second encouraging video. Imagine like just researching something. And again, I'm not telling you to overdo that stuff either, but what I'm challenging you to do is if you delete these apps, you delete these things that are, as Ed's saying, your discipline breakers, how many times do you do it in a day?
Yeah.
You know, if your discipline breaker with food is having something in the pantry that you go for regularly, take it out of your pantry and see how many times you walk to your pantry or you think about walking to your pantry. But don't just consider these things. Like write it down, mark it down. When you pull your phone out and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I just went to open Facebook and I don't have that app on my phone anymore. Shoot yourself a text so it timestamps Facebook and just do that all day long and then go back and look at that. It is mind blowing. I had a time when I did this. This was like 2 Instagram deletes ago. And I don't have Facebook at all. So thank God, like I completely stay away from that one. But Instagram, I do go back to. I had a time where I did it 45 times in one day where I opened it because I work in 50-minute increments. I train on the hour and I take 10 minutes at the top of the hour to run to the restroom, respond to text messages, things like that. I did it every break. Admittedly was doing it in my car at stoplights, going into the restroom, coming out of the restroom. Like I did it almost 50 times. It's like, that's insane. Like what on that app do I need access to 50 times in my day?
Also, maybe find like an alternative that, okay, if I'm going to click onto Instagram, instead of clicking on Instagram, can I click on my daily Bible app?
Yeah.
You know, I like the devotional Jesus Calling. Could you get a Kindle version of Jesus Calling? Instead of clicking on Instagram, I can click on that devotional and read that devotional. If I'm going to the pantry to get food, what can I set myself up to do instead of going to the pantry to get food? You know, can I set myself up to go up to the kitchen counter and do 5 push-ups? Can I go down on the ground and hold a plank? Every time I want to get food, can I do 5 squats? That's
a really good one too, because a lot of people with the food one think they have to replace the food. Like,
right.
Well, okay, I'm not going to have Doritos, but I am going to have some strawberries. Like, okay, but do you actually need food there? Or is the problem that you're eating out of boredom or an anxiety or depression or something? So it's like, it may not have to be the exact same replacement for what you're trying to replace.
Right. Or listen to something. I mean, if you really do want to scroll Instagram or you really do want to scroll TikTok, then set yourself up to where you listen to something. Turn somebody on instead of scrolling and like just have them on in the background. Listen to a podcast from Ed Milet. Listen to Eric Thomas. Listen to Les Brown. Listen to TD Jakes. Listen to people that are really going to get you fired up and they're going to keep your mind set on the right stuff. Every time you go to do that scrolling, put them on, have them on the background, and then hopefully it's giving you that little bit of distraction. But also, before we run out of time, sit down, write down the goals, okay? But write down these distractions that are keeping you from actually setting proper standards for your day, proper values that you follow, and just in general, you know, just your tasks. Set your tasks up differently for the day. You've got to see what those distractions are. Then you've got to say, what standards and habits do I need to follow in order to be able to achieve these goals? It's awesome to write down your goals. Such an important factor. But if you're not writing down what the tasks need to be in order to achieve those goals, you're truly never going to achieve those goals. And how you create new standards to be able to stick with those regular healthy habits matters so much. And that is what we do at Integrity. We teach you that for exercise. We teach you that for nutrition. We will help you with our 6-month nutrition program. Take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered from my personal bakery to you, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.